Hello everybody and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips. And I have just a couple of announcements. First, on April 8th is our next Introduction to Plant-Based Nutrition, 90 minutes, where we tell you all the science and skills needed to adopt and begin implementing a plant-based diet. And then on April 10th, our master herbalist Sabrina Seitz will do a conference call on seasonal allergies and very inexpensive, accessible herbal remedies for seasonal allergies. So if you're interested in participating in those things, just call our office at 614-841-7700. I guess these days I really feel like talking about children and children's health and issues that affect children's health because I am just so devastated when I see overweight, sick kids. It's so unnecessary and we just have to do something about it. So first of all, here's a shocker. You can see why we have to do research when I tell you this. A new study shows that kids are 5 times more likely to consume soft drinks if they're available at home. Wow. I mean, I've been confused for so long. How are kids drinking so much soft drinks? Well, obviously, if they can have them at home, it increases consumption. The data actually came from a New South Wales schools physical activity and nutrition survey. It involved over 8,000 kids. Half were boys, most were high school students. Not surprisingly enough, students from lower socioeconomic backgrounds and boys were more inclined to drink soft drinks. But here were the two numbers that I think were really important. Kids who drank soft drinks with meals at home were 10 times more likely to be high consumers of soft drinks than their counterparts who didn't. And kids who were able to purchase soft drinks at school were 3 times more likely to be high consumers. And so the study authors concluded, and my gosh, this stuff sounds like it came right out of the Wellness Forum curriculum book, parents need to be told to limit their children's access to soft drinks at home, to allow them for special occasions only, to not keep them in the refrigerator and pantry, to not serve them with meals, to replace them with water or lower fat milk. Now, I can't support the suggestion that milk is a better option, but the rest of the advice is almost verbatim. These should be treats, not stuff that kids are drinking all day long. There is one thing that nutrition professionals agree on, and that is that calories consumed in beverages does not result in less calories consumed in food. They're just add-ons, which some of these kids are consuming several hundred calories a day in soft drinks, sports drinks, flavored milk, that kind of thing. Not good. Doesn't reduce the calories from food. But really, the value of this advice is not limited to kids because adults have the same difficulty making good choices when bad ones are available. And I know this is from my own experience, particularly the most vulnerable times for me, which are late at night when I'm tired and wired. If I'm standing in the kitchen saying, gosh, I can have bananas, apples, raspberries, blackberries, cookies, chocolate, soy ice cream, if that stuff is there, sooner or later I'll choose it instead of the better choices. But when it's not there, it's just really unlikely that I'm going to get dressed and leave the house at 11:30 at night to go looking for this stuff. So I think the lesson here is that, first of all, we need to get this stuff out of the schools because there's an implicit endorsement of foods in schools that I think is problematic. But I think if you really want to do yourself a favor and you want to stay compliant on our diet, get foods that you shouldn't be consuming away from yourself. If you make one good decision a week when you go grocery shopping and buy good stuff, don't buy bad stuff, then all of the dozens of decisions that get made throughout the week when you're standing in the kitchen deciding what you're going to have, they sure do become a whole lot easier. So, soft drinks are for treats. There's nothing the matter with having them. Birthday parties are good times and that sort of thing. It's just not something you should be consuming with dinner every night. That is the problem. Okay. Now I want to get on to this, back to the milk issue, and it seems like there's just no end to the bad news about milk. And here's part of the issue that I think has confused everything. The way that we produce foods in our country allows us to manipulate the nutrient content of food, which many people have been convinced makes the food better. So for example, we can take the fat out of milk. We can also add omega-3 fatty acids to white bread, for example. And neither of those manipulations of the food make those foods any better for people. In fact, they make them worse. So when it comes to dairy products, for years it was thought, and I think that there is still the prevailing thought with many health professionals, is the problem with dairy products is the fat. And if you defat the milk products, they're not so deadly anymore, but it's just not true. A new study looked at dairy consumption and body mass index and confirmed that fat isn't the health hazard. This particular study included 10,700 preschool kids between the ages of 2 and 4. And the assumption at the beginning of the study was that kids who drank lower fat milk products would have lower BMI and be less inclined to gain weight. So the researchers were quite surprised that the opposite was shown to be true. Kids who were consuming 1% or skim milk at both age 2 and 4 were more likely to become overweight or obese at these young ages. Now, I'm not surprised at this, and the reason is that if you look at all of the adverse effects, health issues that are associated with consuming dairy products, they all involve dairy protein, not the fat. So it's not shocking to me that weight gain is more significant in little children drinking low-fat products than full-fat products, which doesn't mean the full-fat products are good. It just means they're not as bad. So anyway, this is another thing we got to get out of kids' diets. In addition to not feeding them soft drinks at home with their dinner, we've got to stop feeding them cow's milk at lunch, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and certainly not at school. Which brings me to the next point, which is that the Wellness Forum Foundation, which is a 501c3, does a lot of great work in schools trying to improve the education that children get about health and diet through their teachers. We offer teacher training programs and classroom materials. We also work with community members who want to work with their local schools to improve food offerings for kids. And if you have an interest in helping us in any way with that, please get in contact with me, send me an email or call the office, and there's no shortage of work to be done. I mean, you take a look at what goes on in the cafeterias and vending machines of the average school. We have a lifetime of work ahead of us trying to solve this problem, and I can't do it by myself. So if you'd like to help out, please call me. We have a conference call coming up for training for teachers in public and private schools, and we regularly schedule conference calls for community members too. So let us know if you want to help. Okay, well that's it for today. Once again, just feel compelled to spend time on kids. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think might enjoy listening to it, and I'll be back to you on Thursday.